People often assume that cancel buttons are hard to find because digital interfaces have become cluttered, because products grow over time, accumulate features, layers, and options, and because what began as something simple slowly turns into something dense and difficult to navigate. That explanation feels reasonable, almost generous, because it reduces frustration to a technical problem, something impersonal, something caused by complexity rather than by choice. It suggests that no one intended this outcome, that no one benefits directly from the difficulty, and that the friction is merely a side effect of growth, scale, or imperfect organization. But the difficulty that appears consistently across companies, across industries, across platforms, and always in the same direction is not a coincidence, and is not an accidental byproduct. Signing up is visible. Canceling is obscured. Entering is fast. Leaving takes time. This asymmetry is not a design flaw. It is the design. Interface design is not only about aesthetics or clarity, but about the distribution of effort, about where attention is required and where it is not, about which actions are rewarded with ease and which are burdened with resistance. Every interface makes decisions about who must exert effort, when, and for what purpose, and those decisions are rarely neutral, even when they appear harmless. When a user can subscribe with a single click, but must search through menus, scroll through pages, and confirm multiple times in order to cancel, when the path inward is wide and well lit, while the path outward is narrow and dim, the system is communicating something, even if it never states it explicitly. It is communicating priority. Seneca understood this dynamic long before digital environments existed, when he observed that power rarely requires force, as long as it can rely on imbalance. Because people do not weigh all options equally, but respond to differences in effort. What requires less effort feels natural. What requires more effort feels deferrable. Cancellation is not made difficult in order to make exit impossible, but in order to make continuation feel easier than change. Because systems do not need to retain everyone, only enough people for long enough. The cancel button rarely disappears entirely. It is relocated, placed behind submenus, described in ambiguous language, split into steps, delayed through confirmations. Each step is defensible on its own, together discouraging. This is not persuasion in the traditional sense. It is friction. Seneca warned that dependence often disguises itself as convenience, because what relieves effort in the short term can quietly impose obligation over time, and because people rarely notice when relief begins to demand what it once merely offered. The goal of cancellation friction is not anger. Anger motivates action. Anger provokes resistance. The goal is fatigue. Each additional step increases the likelihood that cancellation will be postponed, not rejected outright, but delayed until later, until there is more time, more calm, more mental space. Later is sufficient. Later preserves the charge. Later sustains the system. Interfaces are designed with the understanding that most decisions are not made through careful analysis, but through thresholds of tolerance, and that people abandon tasks not because they no longer want the outcome, but because the effort required exceeds the attention available. Cancellation does not compete with the desire to leave, but with the fragmentation of everyday life. A notification appears. Another task intervenes. The moment dissolves, and the subscription remains. Seneca described how people lose their time not through a single dramatic choice, but through fragmentation, by allowing small demands to claim their attention until nothing coherent remains to resist them. Cancellation friction exploits precisely this fragmentation. It does not need to break the will. It only needs to outlast it. Over time, the user begins to interpret difficulty as a signal, not of injustice, but of expectation, as though the effort itself suggests that staying is the normal condition and leaving is the exception. What is expected becomes normalized. What is normalized stops being examined. The interface teaches behavior without instruction, by allowing some actions to flow smoothly and burdening others with delay. And in doing so, it teaches the user not what is possible, but what seems worth the effort. This is behavioral design, not manipulation in a theatrical sense, but alignment of outcomes with gradients of effort, where the path of least resistance consistently serves the interest of the system. Seneca observed that obligations accepted without reflection gradually resemble chains, not because they are imposed by force, but because they are maintained by habit. And habit resists disruption, even when the original justification has long expired. Cancellation friction makes reflection costly. To reflect, one must persist. To persist, one must overcome resistance. Most do not. Instead, they adapt. They reinterpret the cost as tolerable. They lower their expectations. They forget the original intention to leave. The system does not require satisfaction. It requires continuation. And continuation is not ensured by quality alone, but by obstacles placed in the way of exit. This is why the design of cancellation reveals more about a system's priorities than the design of sign-up ever could. Because the moment of exit exposes where effort has been concentrated, and effort always follows incentive. A system confident in its value makes exit simple. A system dependent on inertia makes exit exhausting. Seneca argued that freedom is not merely the absence of constraint, but the ability to act without unnecessary obstruction, and that any structure which demands obedience through inconvenience rather than through reason is declaring its own weakness. Cancellation friction is that declaration. It reveals that continuation is not sustained by desire alone. It requires assistance. That assistance takes the form of unevenly distributed effort, always heavier on departure than on arrival, always heavier on change than on stasis. What resists exit reveals itself. Not loudly, but precisely. It declares that silence is profitable, that delay is sufficient, and that most people, most of the time, will choose what asks the least of them, even when they intended otherwise. That is why cancel buttons are hard to find. Not because designers forgot them, but because systems know exactly where effort belongs.